Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next individual talk for the mini conference on pansexuality. Um, in this mini talk, I wanted to share this really powerful um, essay by a good friend of mine on the internet. We met on an alternative website, and she wrote this great piece on pansexuality that really spoke to me, and I feel like it would speak to a lot of people. And I have her permission to read this to everyone for this event. So um, I really hope everyone gets something out of this because I just feel like she really captured a great definition of pansexuality and a great essence of what it is to be pansexual and share one's knowledge with the world. So, what is pansexual and what it means to me? I've heard this question whispered about here and there since I joined this website. I understand the why of it. Why it is people feel as though they can't ask or shouldn't ask these things. In our current climate, it is difficult to feel comfortable, let alone safe, asking about such things. Alternatively, it is difficult to know when and where it is safe and acceptable to freely discuss this subject, and a whole host of others. And if we're being honest about current affairs, efforts in upholding political correctness has little blame here. Even my close friend was uncomfortable asking me about what it meant to be pansexual until we had been friends for a while. She worried she would offend or hurt my feelings in some way or another because that is just who she is. There are a lot of people who aren't worried about those things. Instead, they hate or fear us because of our differences. They're taught that we are X, Y, or Z, that we're bad people, dangerous people, or that what we are as individuals goes whatever their personal or religious beliefs are. My life has been wrought with life lessons and experiences that have forced me to grow into the person I've become. And perhaps one of the most valuable lessons as a result of this was people are far more receptive to you when you're willing to offer an honest answer and help them to understand the things that they didn't before. When they can see firsthand that underneath any of the labels, we're just like them, they're more willing to consider the possibilities. It makes fear mongering tactics that are intentionally and unintentionally fed to us by society and tradition mean less and less. People fear things they don't understand. When we make these things forbidden subjects to discuss or get angry because of perceived ignorance, that fear and trepidation will remain. I'm not saying that those of us who can't speak up need to do so regardless of any consequence, but I am saying that those of us who can should, seeing as how I represent a good few of the minorities that are to be hated or feared for one reason or another. I try to be as open as possible. This subject, oddly enough, has always been a difficult one for me, and probably for a reason that make much sense. I didn't know what pansexual was before I stumbled my way onto this website, let alone that I am pansexual. It's hard to think that now, but it's true. Each new definition of sexual identities I learned taught me that I see things very differently from most. The depth of that understanding came later, but it was this one that opened my mind to even considering comparing my preferences to others. Outside of knowing that I needed to hide who and what I was when I was younger, it just hadn't occurred to me that it was even possible to be all that different from anyone else. To me, knowing that I love people based not on any gender definition or physical trait, but just because I did, it didn't seem all that strange. But the lesson that I am quite different when it comes to this was hammered home, learning that I am pansexual and what that meant for me personally. Pansexual, as defined by Google, is the sexual, romantic, or emotional attraction towards people regardless of their sex or gender identity. This means a few things as far as I'm concerned. Gender means nothing to me when deciding if I'm attracted to someone or not, physically or otherwise. And it has been my experience that this is another area in which I differ from most. I do not consider myself to be on the asexual spectrum, but I cannot be attracted to someone simply based off their gender or appearance or traits. If I am honest, physical appearance holds very little weight in determining what I find attractive. To me, physical beauty is always nice, but I look at it much like one appreciates a painting. What and how the bits fit together means even less to me, sexually speaking. I have found that it makes no difference in how I enjoy sexual acts with another human. My erotica is frequently misleading in this aspect, and I've often pondered over why it is that in most instances my characters are heterosexual, or at least the sexy stuff is mostly heterosexual. And the best I can put together on that front is that it appeals to the majority of my audience. That and the fact for me, sex and relationships between myself and other women have always put me in a dominant role. And because I've yet to experience a kinky relationship with another woman, I have less to draw on. As far as understanding that I'm pansexual, that took little more than being exposed to the wider range of members of this website. I found myself drawn to people of just about every orientation, sexually and otherwise. Seeing lists of preferences or things that various people were attracted to or found unattractive only further cemented my feelings on this. It is how I began to understand my own preferences are so different and in ways that I find difficult to express. Because I believe I have always been wired this way, it is foreign to me to imagine what I would find attractive or unattractive otherwise. I can't put this into words that form a list of preferences because for me, the things I am drawn to vary based on the individuals I find myself at. Stop that. Okay. Wait a minute, lost my place. Um, because for me, the things I'm drawn to vary based on the individuals I find myself attracted to. I'm not sure if this will help anyone understand the identification better, but this is my best attempt thus far at verbalizing my experience. I suppose my hope in sharing this, as with most of the deeply personal things I share, is that it will open the door for discussion and questions from those who felt unable to do so. And those ending words of her essay really echo what I want to achieve with this online conference, to understand and to have conversations about pansexuality between people interested in people who want to understand pansexuality better, and so that those who identify as pansexual can step into that teaching role and share their knowledge, their experiences, and their definitions with the world. And I really feel like that essay did that. So thank you for listening, and I will see you on the next interview and next individual talk.